Okay, let's see what's going on. Hey, Karen. Hey, Valerie, Steph. Awesome. Okay, so let's see. Is it easy to put this thing live on Facebook? I don't even know. I'm just going to see. Oh, it's asking me stuff. To be honest, I don't even want to mess with it. So I'm just going to cancel that. Okay. No, X out. All right, Steph, I'm going to promote you to, I got to find you. All right. Promote you to a panelist because Steph Crowder, ladies and gentlemen, is here to co-host the party with me. Hi, Maritza. What's up, lady?
Hi.
How are you?
I'm doing great. How are you?
I'm doing so well. This has been a really great launch day, a great Friday in general. I put on eyeliner, you guys.
I did not do that. You're getting me in a hat,
That's fine. That's totally fine.
but I brought my drink, so.
I needed to show up for these people. Like, it's usually a no makeup kind of Claire. Just because I saw already there's something going on in the Q&A. If you pre-submitted a question, don't submit it again because we're actually going to start there. Don't put it in the Q&A here just because then this is usually me on a webinar or a workshop, a live workshop. I'm always like back and forth. But that's okay because today it's Friday. Donna says happy Friday. Is organize your business with
That made me laugh.
Good. Okay, but hers are for real. Steph, tell everyone about your Post-it notes because then I'll
Yeah, it's very relevant to the conversation today. This is like one of the things, if you guys don't know me, hi, I'm Steph Crowder, and I teach people, mostly I teach people to learn how to go from crickets to customers. So to kind of go from zero to learning how to get customers in your business. But one of the things I teach is this year on the wall method behind me. And I turned this, which was a free workshop, into a paid workshop, which with Claire's help, which is very relevant to the launch of Workshop Magic because it really is magical. Mine was very successful and really fun.
Yeah. But so just so you all know, yeah, that's for like planning your year. That is actual organization. This is, some of you have already heard me say this, but this is what I do when I'm in a launch usually, or if I have a goal, I put up blank Post-it notes. And then when you lovely people enroll in something, I put the names up. But I have these blank, I haven't done it. I haven't updated it in a while. And I have a lot more names thanks to a bunch of you. Names to put on the wall, more Post-it notes to kind of bring down. But I basically left it up because I suddenly had a background for my YouTube videos and my Q&As. It's some of these names are from like 2018. So it's all good. Wow. I'm so excited about everyone who's here. This is like kind of my dream.
Yeah.
Laren.
This is a party. There's like 43 people here.
Yeah. Braden, who asked a hilarious question, what are your pronouns and how do you get paid? So that's from my podcast. If you all aren't listeners, just like show of hands in the chat, type 1 for you're a podcast listener to my particular podcast, and 2 if you're not, because I'm just totally curious. And we're also just going to we're really going to hang out today. We're going to laugh. I am going to share a little bit about Workshop Magic, but that's like the least. I don't want to say that it's not exciting because it is really exciting. I'm really proud of this course that I put out there. But there's so many really good questions that you all submitted, and I really want Steph's brain on a lot of them. Some of them I was just like, this is for Steph. This was for Steph. And also Steph's going to jump off at the hour mark approximately. And then we've got Shantae Cofield, the movement maestro, who is just, she's just absolutely incredible. You're going to see. So, we're going to have a lot of fun today. Okay, cool. So Giselle's very new. Well, welcome, Giselle, for being very, very new. All right, cool. So we really a lot of just subscribe. We really have a mix, if you will. Awesome. Okay, terrific. So let's start off, I think, actually by talking a little bit about Workshop Magic and where it came from. Basically, you've probably heard the story by now where, COVID-19 was like coming to the States, but it wasn't quite here yet, or it was, but it wasn't like crazy. We weren't on lockdown yet, but as soon as the fear started going around, I lost all sales. You know, I was making a really decent income, probably about 10K a month from evergreen sales. And they just stopped. And when you that's the only thing I was really doing, the only thing I was selling. And it was super scary because I had no idea if it would pick back up again.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know, it might've been 10 days in or so that I send who's on Voxer? I want to know. Cause I Vox Steph, she's my go-to these days.
Yes. And vice versa.
Just like, all right, what do I do? Because I felt, I don't know if you felt this, Steph, but in the past year or so, I've been really subscribing to a lot of the philosophies, the strategy, the mindset of some business owners who are all about like charging a lot,
Mm-hmm.
right? And making a lot.
Yeah.
Right? Like that's where my head has been at for the past year. So Absolute FB Ads, my Facebook and Instagram ads course, started as a $99 product, and it went up and it went up and it went up. And I never thought I would sell it for more than $1,000, which I'm doing now. And the price is actually going to go up again, totally silently. You're not going to get a single email about that. So now might be the time, FYI.
Slide that in there.
Yeah. But, so the idea of like, do I cut down the price in this funnel so that I don't have to do much work? What do I do here? Will people respond to that? I don't know. But what did you say? Steph, you were talking to me about like lowest hanging fruit. Was that your expression? All right. So talk about that a little.
Yeah. And for those of you who are here who are taking Workshop Magic, I have a little bonus for you inside where I talk about this a little bit more. I have this framework that I've been calling the scrappy selling framework, where I teach my people how to identify your lowest hanging fruit and just kind of work with what you already have. I think so often we, feel like we have to spin up something like totally new, and where's it going to come from? So I remember talking to you, Claire, and I was kind of like, what's your lowest hanging fruit? What could be fun to do? Like, what could you spin up tomorrow and potentially make sales from? I feel like that's where the conversation started.
And I was listening and I was really resistant to what you were saying. I don't know why, but like, spin up tomorrow, like something new. I think that was it. I wanted to stay with everything I had, and not create something new.
Yeah.
And I was annoyed at your advice.
As that happens sometimes.
But I guess I just decided I started thinking more and more about what you said. And that's where the idea of this workshop came from. And then I was talking to some other friends about like basically the strategy of just selling to the people who are already paying attention to you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because that was, I think, maybe where I wasn't looking. Like, a lot of my whole focus for this year was supposed to be about growing my audience and getting more people, and people had never heard of me, into my funnel. Right.
Yeah.
But that is ignoring all these people who have been following me for a while. Maybe they've paid me, maybe they haven't. Maybe they watched the last launch where I was raising the price of Absolute FB Ads, but it still wasn't the right time for them. Or the money was like a real issue. I don't believe in these like all objections are dumb, or like all objections can be overcome. Mm-hmm. Sometimes the timing isn't effing right.
Yep.
And sometimes the money isn't effing there. I'm trying to keep, I think most of you guys know that when I get worked up, I definitely tend to swear a lot, but I'm trying to keep it. It's not, the sun isn't even down here. So
yeah. Right.
Plus maybe your kids will like waltz in sort of like that guy who was in South Korea and his kids like busted. And I'm still laughing about that video. Do you know what I'm talking about? Cause you look like
me. Oh, I was just laughing because Braden said totally here for the fucks, and Emily said swear on. So we have a lot of people supporting you swearing, which it distracted me because I was laughing.
Oh, okay. Sorry. Melissa, you're not the only one not on Voxer. You're not. I guess I keep telling my one client to please get on Voxer. Okay. So I don't know what we're talking about. Oh, anyway, the price was, coming up with this lower price thing. And this is what I've actually noticed. It's not just for people who are doing like what I did and what I teach in Workshop Magic, which is come up with a lower price point. I usually talk about $100. It's not just that. I'm seeing people who are putting out offerings that are not cheap. They're not $100. They're definitely in the 3,000 range. But that's so much less than what their signature offer is.
Yeah.
That people are just like, take my money. So the goal, and I know that it can be tough, and that's why I spent a lot of time, especially on this first module in Workshop Magic, is figuring out what's the offering, what's the workshop topic that doesn't detract from like what your signature thing is. It's not going to give people everything they need, and then therefore they're not going to buy your bigger thing, but still gets them wins. And then how does it tie into the upsell? So I think that's sort of the crux of it, and that's really where we spend a lot of time.
I think also it, like for me, deciding what I was going to do with this year mine was called the Year on the Wall tune-up. And I think with everything that we're going through right now as a collective, as a society, and this is what I've been saying to a lot of my clients. It's not that people like suddenly don't have money and that's true in some cases, but what's probably more true across the board is like people still have money, but they're being a little bit more bullish or conservative with how they're spending that money, not knowing what's coming down the pipe. And couple that with the fact that we don't know what life is going to be like even a month from now. I think thinking about what you can offer in the short term that will be a quick win that people do know that they want right now versus like, I can't really tell if I'm going to need that a month from now because I literally don't even know what we're going to be doing. Are my kids going back to daycare? Like what's happening? I think it has to be sort of like a no-brainer. Oh, that's something I can work on in this moment right now versus, where am I going to be 6 months from now? Because I know for me, like, and hello, you're looking at a person who has like a calendar on their wall. Normally, I like to look to the end of 2020, but that's just not resonating with me right now. I mean, how do we do that? So instead, I think it's a question of like, how do you make people feel like they can sink their teeth into something that is positive and productive right now versus getting too far down the pipe in terms of like how to plan,
Definitely. And I know I've said this before, but like people just also love, I mean, you all are here maybe just so that you have something else to do, like to come and be in community. I mean, this is almost like a live podcast episode recording. And like what I'm noticing is that I want to like also just like check out the chat and also talk. So that's a little tricky, but we'll get to it. I'll be scrolling for a couple hours. But like, yeah, people are so much more likely, I think, to convert now into a workshop than a course, because how many courses do you all think that you have sitting in your inboxes that you haven't opened? That's what I want to know. I counted them up the other day and I think there's 7. And that's very embarrassing. It's really a waste of money. I mean, I thought I was like priding myself on being somebody who doesn't buy courses. And then I counted them.
I definitely have a few. There's no doubt.
Okay, it looks like 2 or 3. That's cool. Oh, hey, Michelle. Sorry, sometimes I can't see the last names, and I'm not sure who everybody is. Michelle and I have been hanging out online together for years and years. This might be our first like live thing, I think. Anyway, so right. But then on the other side, there's all these reasons why people are buying workshops and they're excited about workshops. But then Megan Mins actually pointed this out to me the other day when I was talking about like, how am I going to sell this thing? Because this is the true behind the scenes, right? Just like, we're like, nobody ever asked me for this. And I've launched courses in the past that nobody ever asked me for, and they did really poorly. So, something that she pointed out to me, because I was thinking this is for people who are, we also talked about this a lot, Steph, like, the kind of the different segments. This is for people who are already selling. They're just like me. I was thinking of me, somebody who has a funnel that has slowed
Yep.
down, or sales or launches that aren't quite reaching what they would hope, but they've been in business for a while and they've been doing it. And then Megan pointed out that this is also a really great strategy for people who are beginners in terms of sales, beginners in terms of launching programs or courses or services,
Yep.
but they have worked on the audience piece so
Yep.
far.
Yep.
Like, I feel strongly this is not for you if you do not have much of an audience. And we'll talk about what that means. And if anybody wants to like message me on Instagram and be like, this is my audience breakdown, tell me if this is enough or not. But like, you know, anytime somebody told her that they just wanted to start selling something, they had amassed a big Instagram following over the years. They work in like a full-time job, but they also sort of have this personal brand, but they're not selling anything yet. And they were starting with a workshop because it was perfect. Megan created a workshop to figure out how to sell. Like, what's the messaging here to sell this higher level thing? I mean, and it worked like gangbusters. So it's just this way to start being like flexible and a little bit less like, okay, I'm going to create a course without really asking anybody if they want it.
Yes.
This way, and then launch it this way. And it's just a different, I think for me, I don't know about you, Steph, but for me, it was this super laid back way of selling.
Oh, absolutely. And I think the other thing too is if you're someone like me where maybe you've had an idea for a course for a really long time, and if you've ever made a course before, then you know there's a lot that goes into it. You have to design the curriculum, you have to script it, shoot it, edit it, sales page, like it's a big endeavor. And for me, I have been saying for at least a year now, like, gosh, my year on the wall process, like, probably could be a course. And then I just never get around to it. Turning it into a $99 workshop kind of like lit a fire under me. I haven't turned it into a whole course, but it's like I haven't needed to, because I was able to just take what I already had, adapt it, and turn it into a paid workshop instead of, again, just sitting here being like, when am I going to find 3 months to make a new course? Like, it's sort of like the quick and dirty course, I suppose. Like, it still gets people results. And somebody said this in the chat too, like, it kind of gives you that quick win feeling. Yeah, this is Melissa said, I never buy courses, would definitely find it easier to buy a workshop because it feels like a quick win. I think it's a quick win for the buyer. It's also a quick win for us, the creators, because I put mine together in an afternoon, you know, versus a course when I would just be sitting on that for like weeks on end, feeling overwhelmed by it.
Yeah. Absolutely. Somebody asked in the chat, and if you all have questions and we're missing them, just like pop them into the Q&A. But somebody asked, like, what is really the difference between a course and a workshop? For me, and Steph, I really like your thoughts on this, but for me, it's about the live aspect of it. Like, that's most of it. And maybe as a result, it's just by design less content. Yeah, like my workshop was really a part of my course, the basics, like kind of stripped down while still being effective. So just so you know, I did the workshop on basically how to put together your first list building ad, because Steph had been telling me, Claire, when are you going to do a webinar that's just like how to get your first ad up and running? And I was like, that would be a really long webinar. And it turned out to be a really perfect paid workshop.
Yeah.
But there's so much more involved in running ads than just that. So the upsell was into my signature course was just, it was natural.
I think the difference, yeah, exactly what you just said is a great example. The workshop is kind of self-contained. It's like, you're going to come to this workshop and you're going to get X result. You're going to come to this workshop and you're going to be able to run your first ad. In my case, it's you're going to come to this workshop and figure out what the hell to do with your year that just blew up. Like, you had a plan and now it's gone to crap. So what are you going to do? How are you going to recover? So yeah, I think the thing about the workshop that's different than a course, you think of a course, at least when I look at my signature program, I see it as like a training program. Like, it takes at least 8 weeks because I'm taking people from hey, I'm hearing crickets to, oh, I'm working with 8 paid customers. Like that's going to take some time and some effort. And you're going to have to really like, put your nose to the grindstone. Whereas a workshop, it's like, come to this, in your case, you did 3, like a set of 3 workshops, Claire. In my case, I did 1 workshop and 30 days of coaching accountability in a group. So it was like, hey, we're going to have this workshop. And then for 30 days, I'm going to hold you accountable. And it was just, I feel like it's more of a sprint versus my signature program is more like a training program. Like it's going to be more intensive, and the result's going to take longer to get. Both are valuable for their own reasons, but definitely feel like in this season with what we're all going through, quick wins is the name of the game, I think.
Yeah, for sure. So let me just do this real quick. Let's just kind of get through. I just want to show you basically the workshop magic page. Steph, would you mind just popping into the chat, clairepells.com/workshop magic, so that people can look for themselves if they want. So, I'm going to let you all read this. This is sales copy. It talks about the problem and the solution, which is what we're sort of talking about here. But basically, this really was the easiest no launch, no funnel sales strategy that I've ever implemented. And I would say that for the first 4 years of my business, I really struggled to sell. I struggled to convert on webinars. I struggled to get the messaging right. And so as a result, I grew a list. I have 6,000 people on my list now. So this is not small. You do not need that many people in order to be successful.
Yeah, I have half that.
Yeah. And what's crazy though is that Steph, so many of those people had done yours already for free.
Yeah. Yeah.
So, but like, I just wish that I had started this so much earlier, because you don't have to be great at pitching, great at conversion, copy, like somewhat, you have to be okay enough at copywriting. And I show you how to do that in the course. But it's a much easier thing when you've made a connection with people to then be like, and here's this other thing. It's so simple. Okay. So Workshop Magic is essentially, it's a 5-module course. The modules are super short. For those of you who are inside Absolute FP Ads, that course ain't short. And that's basically the result of me creating the course in 2014. And now 6 years later, there's so much more to add. So I've just had to add on. Not this. This is just like, boom, you can literally watch the whole thing in 3 hours or less, especially if you watch it on like 1.x speed, which is this nice little easy thing. So the first module is just about finding and validating your workshop topic, because I don't even want you creating a sales page if you don't have enough people interested in this. Okay. Mm-hmm. The second module is about selling out your workshop in 1 week or less. And this is where I give you the email to send. This is where I give you the structure for the sales page. I don't give you a template. I want to be clear about that, because that to me seems a little bit impossible to provide. But I say you need to start your sales page like this. And then comes this. And I just walk you through the whole thing. I walk you through mine. You've also got example to like examine a little bit more. Also like what kind of order form do you need, and blah, blah, blah. Well, how do you set up this wait list so that when yours fills up? Because these are all the things that I was doing on the fly, and I kind of messed some things up as a result. I would say I messed up many things as I was doing these workshops. So a huge part of this program is just you learning from exactly what I messed up on. All right. So then module 3 is about creating your magical live workshop experience. This ended up being the longest module, because in addition to just like all of the delivery emails, like, hey, we're going live. Hey, this is, like happening now. Here's the replay. You don't have to write any of those emails, because I've basically written them for you. And while those aren't hard to write, they take a lot of time. So that's in there. But then also, like, how do you enhance engagement so that by the end, people are like raring to go and ready for the upsell? And so I ran my workshop twice, and I'm really glad I had those 2 experiences before I created this module. So I could say like, oh, okay, first time I did this, second time I did this, and this worked so much better. And here's the slide and the text on the slide that I, made sure to have for the second round, things like that. So then 4 is about making the upsell pitch. So that's going to be all during your workshop, but also following it. And then the 5th module is, if you want to, you can just resell, repeat, and upsell some more. So you could absolutely do this. I did it twice in about 3 weeks. Maybe it was 4 weeks between. I know I had filled up the 2 in less than 3 weeks. But I was planning, if I didn't come up with the idea to do this course, I was planning on doing it like every other week. And depending on what I have to get done in May before this baby comes, I might do it again. So it's just everything is in place. Once you create the assets one time, the assets of the sales page, the emails, the order form, the slides for your actual workshop, your upsell emails, like once you have done, it just makes sense to keep doing it so long as you have an audience that keeps buying, either because it filled up the first time quickly, or there were more people interested than spots available, or because you're growing your audience either with ads or organically, and so you have enough people to keep filling it up. Okay, something to note, I like to put the fine print real big, because I'm just tired of people being unaware of these things, because sometimes we don't read every word on a page, and I get it. You get access to this course for 6 months. And that is so that you actually take action on it. If you want to renew after 6 months, you absolutely can, but you shouldn't need to renew, because you simply take notes during, while you're watching the videos. You'll actually implement it, and so then it's already done. But you also get the templates. You just add them to your own Google Doc, and you don't need access to the templates anymore from the course, at least. Make sure you watch Steph's bonus though, because that'll go away and you can't download that. Okay, so then I talked about the email templates a bit. This is Steph's bonus, how I turned a free webinar into my $99 workshop. And then this is something that's happening for this launch only. That's from May 1st, which is today. Okay, does May have 30 or 31 days? Do you know how many times I had to sing that song to myself?
I don't even know that song
30,
exact. 31. People are so fast. 31. You guys are good.
Shit. Okay. So then you got to ignore the dates on this page. So until the 31st, I'm just going to give it the whole month.
Yeah.
Even though this says 30 day, let's just make it the month. It's a pop-up Facebook group. And so that's where some people in here have already come together and are, this is where you can ask questions, get feedback. If you are confused about anything or aren't sure, like today, I'm going to put you right on blast. Steph said she asked me for feedback on her upsell offer. That was via Voxer. And it's because she's given me, she's come to my in-person hangouts enough times that I'm like, here, take this, let me give you my thoughts. But I want to do that for you too. So we'll do that. We're going to have at least 2 Q&A calls. So, if you're like, here's my workshop and here's my upsell offer, do you think that makes sense? Sometimes a question is going to make more sense to just talk it out. So that'll be in the group as well. Okay. So this thing is $297. I mean, you can do the math on the value or whatever, but it's $297. If you're doing a $99 or $97 workshop, you need what? 3 spots, 3.1 spops? 2.97 spots to make that back. So I really feel like if you're going to do the work, and that's the other thing in the fine print, this is only going to work for you if you do the work. Just buying the course doesn't actually make you create a workshop. Then you're going to make your money back. There's just no doubt about it.
Let me just jump in and say that is, to me, that's a really good point. If you're going to do a live workshop, just buy this. like honestly, I mean, because here's the thing, I think a good reason to not buy it is I'm not going to do a live workshop. Fine. You may have your reasons for that. But I just think this is one of those things where there's just, at this price point especially, there's just no reason to kind of stumble around and trial and error when there's a system here that really works. It's not only worked for Claire, it's worked for myself, Megan Mins, others at this point. And so the trial and error has already happened. And I think to be able to take what works and implement that, I know that if we weren't friends and we hadn't gone back and forth on this as buddies, I would be just give me the process that will, there's never a guarantee that it's going to work, but I think having a framework to follow and having proven strategies just gives you so much more confidence when you're trying something like this.
Yeah, I would say just the time you save from having to write all those emails is absolutely worth this much money. I mean, especially when I don't know about, well, no, I do know about you, Steph. You already were limited in work time.
Yeah.
When you had childcare because
Yes.
of the little one. So,
Yes.
you know, I assume you all have less time as well. Some of you childless lovelies, I don't hate you at all, have more time, but you know. Okay, so I'm going to let you all go through this, but the couple things I do want to point out. You know, it's really not for you if you're like, I want to have an online business, but I don't know what to sell yet. Actually, sometimes I think I say this, and that's just because I try to protect other people's wallet. If you feel confident that you're going to be able to come up with an idea and also build your own audience quickly, like within the 6 months, or just, you know, you can go through the course, learn the method, and then implement this a year from now if you want. But I recommend it for people who like have a website, you know, they've at least gotten that far.
Yeah.
But if you haven't had any customers or clients yet, there's probably a lot more for you to learn. Steph, do you have anything for those people? You're on the wall?
Yeah, if you're one of those people, come hang out with me. Come check out Crickets to Customers. No, but for real, my website's called courageandclarity.com, and that's like my wheelhouse, I feel, is helping people figure out what to sell, how to sell it, what your offer is going to be, how to go from zero to customers. Just come hang out with me, and we'll get you hooked up with some people.
And she's so good at what she does. Y'all know that she was like head of sales at Groupon. How's Groupon doing, by the way?
Hey, they're still kicking, believe it or not. It's kind of shocking, but they're still around.
Okay, good. Okay, cool. So I would say if you don't have any audience yet, like not at all, not a good fit, because I don't recommend that you try to sell this sell this too cold. And I'm going to talk about that. We got questions about that. So we'll definitely talk about why I don't recommend that and what you do instead. And if you this course does not come with any tech tutorials, with the exception of Zoom, which is like, here's how I set up the webinar to make it be able to repeat like whenever I want. There are no tech tutorials. So when I say like, here is the email, put it into your email provider, you need to know how to manage your email provider.
Okay. But let me just jump in on that really quick, because we had a couple of things in the chat about tech specifically.
Okay.
And some kind of like, gosh, I wish I could hire somebody to help me with my tech. Here's my thought on the whole tech side of things. If you're trying to go tech minimal, I honestly feel like this is one of the best things you can do. I mean, all you need to execute on this is something like Convertkit, you know, which now you can even get a free account with Convertkit under a certain amount. You need Zoom. That's about it, you know, maybe Keynote to make your slides or whatever. But there was some conversation in the chat about, you know, funnels and that kind of stuff, which is great and has its place and has its merit. But in terms of like, again, quick win, if like I'm just here to say you don't need a lot of tech to do this. I did this with Convertkit, Instagram, and Zoom and Facebook, and that's it.
You know, in the course, I talk about how I sold my first like higher price point thing, which at the time was $1,200. I sold it with a Google Doc sales page. You do not need to have sales page, what's this called? Software or tool, pregnancy brain. You know, you don't have to have it to make it work. You can actually, I believe you don't even need Zoom. I talk about in pretty much every tool, I talk about a free option and a paid one. Or one that's like dirt cheap and one that's not as dirt cheap. But yeah, this is so much easier than creating a course or like these tiny offers. You know, Steph, I don't know if you saw this doc before you popped on, because I sent it to you like 50 seconds before we started, but about a third of the questions I got are about this tiny offer thing. So we're going to chat about that when I'm done with this, you know, little thing.
Interesting.
So much less complicated than a $27 product.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's really, I mean, I also believe that everyone can learn from YouTube. So I'm sorry, in the course, I do actually show people how to, where to go in PayPal if they don't want to use like an order form thing. Like the cheapest way is to just do everything through PayPal. So I do show you that. But like other things, I am going to expect you to go to YouTube and say like, how do I send an email with Convertkit, or go to Convertkit's tutorials, because all these tools have tutorials, right? And if you get like really stuck, there's going to be somebody in the group. In fact, one of my ad consultants just joined, and she was like, I can also help with tech questions. Not making any promises, but thanks, Brianna. Okay. So then anything else? Oh, just the fine print. So there's no lifetime access. It's 6 months. If you're just starting out in business, depends on what kind of audience you have. Oh, this is the other thing. There's no refund policy. I mean, the policy is that there are no refunds. So this is not a, let me see if I like it kind of thing. It's just that those templates are worth a lot of money, and you download them, and for all I know, you're sharing them with people. Please don't do that, but you could be. And so there's no refund. So just, think about it and let me know. Okay, so let's get into these questions, because we have Steph for only about 25 more minutes, and some of them are just really perfect for her. So Steph, okay, you're in here. There was one, I wanted to start with this one at the top. How, and once we get through the questions that were pre-submitted, we will definitely get to the Q&A. And if anyone has to run, just, well, there's going to be a replay of this, so you can watch the replay. How do you design a great lead magnet that actually converts? I was like, I don't know. Thank God Steph is going to be there.
I love this question. And shout out to Sarah Cottrell, who's here. She is a fan of both of ours, Claire, and she's one of my students in Crickets to Customers. Yeah, Sarah says, learn from Steph. I love Sarah, and she's fantastic. She's a great student. We talk a lot about lead magnets in my world. I call them, I have a elevated approach to a lead magnet. I call it a community anchor. And I think that shift alone is really useful when you're thinking about a lead magnet. I like to think about something that is going to build community. So it's not just a transactional, oh, here's a checklist or here's a free PDF. Think about a piece of content that is foundational, where a tribe of people will want to talk about it and dissect it and learn from it and kind of almost like have shared language and common experience around it, is the first thing. The second thing, like, and this is the speed version for sure, but if I had to pick one thing that I think makes lead magnets work, it's action. Okay. If you were to compare a lead magnet that's like, it's fine, to one that really, really converts, you really have to make sure you're telegraphing the core outcome when you're making the offer. And make no mistake, putting a lead magnet out there is selling. No, people don't have to pay you money, but you need to be approaching it with like a sales mindset, which is that when people give up their email address, that is still a transaction. And so you have to think about what happens in a sales exchange. It's people seeing, oh, that's a valuable outcome that I want. Here's my money. Same thing with a lead magnet. Oh, that's a valuable outcome. Here's my email address. And so you have to make sure that the action is crystal clear, that people know that if they download it, they will be able to, organize their junk drawer. And mine is called the 15-minute planner method. With mine, you know that you'll be able to plan your whole week in 15 minutes and actually get stuff done. So when I help people make over their lead magnets, the first thing I'm really looking for is it like hit you in the face, obvious what the action and outcome is going to be? I feel like that's what gets people, like draws people in, is like, oh, you're going to teach me exactly how to do a thing. Focus on that when you're making a lead magnet. It's going to make all the difference.
Yo, that's incredible. Does anyone else just like love to hear Steph talk about sales? I guess Sarah.
I get really jazzed up.
Yes. Oh man, she is the go-to. You all, do you know that Steph has a fantastic podcast, and she also just launched a YouTube channel. So we need to get, let's get the URL for all of that stuff in here.
I was going to
before you
say, if you
go.
guys are looking for more sales stuff, specifically, my YouTube channel is brand new, and that's where I'm going to be. I used to be the director of sales training for Groupon for all of America. I've traveled to Europe teaching people about sales, and I have not talked about it nearly enough in my business, which is really funny. So courageandclarity.com/YouTube. I don't know why that didn't turn into a link there in the
I see it
chat,
as
but
a link.
if you go there and subscribe, I'm going to be making a lot more sales videos, but my podcast is called Courage and Clarity, and it's wherever you listen to podcasts, you can check out the pod.
Cool. Because I've been like, people have been asking me, sometimes we have a problem in the ads group where people will actually get super cheap leads, but they're low quality, and then they stop opening the emails. And I've been meaning to bring you in stuff too. Actually, I just want them to go give you their money to learn about because I still haven't done a community anchor. I kind of had all my lead magnets in place when you started talking about that. So I haven't gone through it myself. I'm going to have to.
Yeah.
Sorry, before we get into the next question, I did remember I forgot to mention this one thing about, I do not know which of these windows it is. So we're just going to share the desktop. So I just need to bring your attention to the one bonus that is just today if you buy Workshop Magic today. So we talked about, sales pages can be done on a Google Doc. It can be done super simply, but the words are so important. And I think this is the most important tool, the most important skill that I've learned over the years is writing better copy. And I'm not a copywriter, so I'm not going to teach you like all the skills you need, but you're going to see from the course, like what the structure of your sales page should be. And then if you do join Workshop Magic today, then you'll get an invitation to a workshop. We'll go 2 hours, and I'm thinking just because of the numbers, it might have to be split into 2 different groups so that I can really look at everyone's problem section and benefit section. I can't go through the whole page, but those are the most important things. So you're going to get actual feedback on improving that. And for those of you who came to my workshop or have been on Q&A calls inside Absolute FB Ads, like, that I go deep in saying, I'm blunt, like, this is boring, or I don't know what this means. And like, that's how you really improve your copy, by getting it in front of other people's eyes, people who have a critical eye. So that, at least one session of that is going to be May 11th. You got to jump into the course today in order to get that invite. Okay.
That's awesome. I didn't know you were having that bonus. That's really good.
Yeah. I have mixed feelings about fast action bonuses. Sometimes I think they are just for the creator to have a good first day.
Yeah, that's true.
And to feel better, because most of my launch first days aren't that good, because people, I think, tend to need to think about Facebook. You actually told me this, because I was like, how come I never get any sales off my webinar? And you were like, one, I don't know. That's a problem. I get 1 million. And then kind of talking about it. I think we just kind of concluded that, because it's been throughout the course of my business, and I think it's the topic.
Yeah.
So, but anyway, I just came up with it, and I'm excited about, I guess I really kind of want to give this first round the best chance of being successful as possible. And I know that having eyes on copy is like the most important, almost like the best thing about having business buddies.
I was going to say, we did that for each other for our workshops, and I think that was huge.
Oh yeah. Cammie's here too. She was looking at my stuff. Oh yeah. I mean, Cammie, the headline is basically you. Thank you. So anyway, back to the questions. We do have so many. And I really wanted your thoughts on this next one too, Steph. How do you appeal to the emotions of your audience through story without crossing the line of emotional manipulation? I've encountered a lot of marketing that when I'm out of the initial emotions of the pitch, I feel completely manipulated and a little angry. I never want to make my future audience feel like that.
Man, like, I have questions about this question. I sort of almost wish there was an example. I don't know if this question is pointing towards like exaggerated marketing. You know what I mean? Sometimes when we talk about agitation with marketing and sales, which is important, it can go too far.
What's agitation? Tell us.
So yeah, so like when you're trying to appeal to the pain that someone's feeling, you know, they are needing the solution. They want to lose the weight. They want the leads so that you know, the Facebook ads could fix that. Just the gap essentially, the reason they would hire you. There's a gap in their knowledge, right? And so we agitate that pain a little bit to bring it to the surface to get people to say, actually, yeah, that, you know, that is kind of bothering me and I think I want to act on it. The thing that I always relate this to, if it is, you know, the overly exaggerated agitation, I'm going to kind of assume that's what we're talking about here. I can't say this without laughing, but it reminds me of those infomercials that you see super late at night where it's like somebody trying to flip an egg in a crappy skillet and it like hits the ceiling and it's in black and white and there, you know what I'm talking about, where it's like a complete,
no, but this is great.
You don't, it's like the completely over the top, like, are you sick and tired of this, of like not being able to flip your eggs in a skillet? And it's like people doing all this crazy stuff in a kitchen that you would just never, that would never be real life. Cami says, yes, those infomercials are so cheesy. And then they show the beautiful, you know, non-stick pan. And they're like, you need this pan. And I think it just, the audience just sees through it. And you're just like, ew. And so I feel like when it comes to appealing to emotions in your marketing, which is really important. I was having a conversation in a coaching call with my crew earlier today about this, about how the fact of the matter, when you think about sales psychology, is people buy on emotion. This is true. Like people make emotional purchases, they justify it with logic. This is why it doesn't work to just sell features and benefits, because people are like, cool. I don't care that you have 17 modules. What's in it for me? The purchase comes from an emotional place. Like, oh, I see that sweatshirt on Instagram. I feel like I'd be really cozy in that. And you spin up all these images in your head of why that sweatshirt would comfort you, you know, during quarantine or something. And then you justify it with logic. Oh, I have a $50 gift card to Lululemon. I can buy this sweatshirt. This may or may not be a real example from my life from this past week, but people buy on emotion and they justify with logic. What's important in this question is you really have to make sure you're not over exploiting that. I think it's completely fair to tap into that emotion. If you have been in the place where your audience, you know, if that used to be you lost the weight, you figured out Facebook ads, you learned how to sell. It's great and all well and good to tap into those feelings that you had and say like, hey, it sucks when you keep getting on the scale and you have 50 pounds to lose. It sucks when you aren't getting leads week in and week out. I feel like when you come from a place of genuinely wanting to make people's lives better, you inherently aren't, this might be oversimplifying it, but to me, you're not going to pull a fast one on people. I really think it's important to just keep in your mind's eye, like how are people's lives going to be different when they have the core outcome, and avoid the temptation to like really use hyperbole. You don't need to over exaggerate. All you have to do is just kind of tap into some of the feelings that you had before, and then just kind of add on, hey, here's how it's going to feel after you fix it. It doesn't need to be more exaggerated than that. But I think sometimes we see the sort of hyperbolic, like you're going to feel amazing, everything's going to be great. And that's where it does start to feel like emotional manipulation. So I don't know if that's helpful, but that's kind of how I read it.
Yeah, I guess when I think about, I have a tendency to also worry too much about the people I'm selling to, especially when like a copywriter that I've hired highlights results that not everyone's going to get.
That's what Jesse's saying in the chat too.
Oh, also,
never want to,
amazing.
Yeah.
I never want to make
a promise that doesn't
right. But so like that's we have to work on that, Jesse, because we can't be responsible for other people's buying decisions. I think I have taken way too much responsibility for other people's success and then like felt bad and therefore didn't sell as a result. Because like I'll have a student in a program who's really struggling and then I go, this must be my fault. And I ignore the fact that the other people are thriving. So, but when it comes to like sharing the actual problems, I feel like when somebody really nails the pain point, I feel seen.
Yeah.
I mean, it's interesting about like feeling manipulated, but I guess I would check in with yourself and be like, why? Why did why did I like resonate with that? And now why does it feel like manipulation? Is it because you just didn't need the course or the thing that you bought? And so then looking back, you're like, oh, why did I do that? I'm not saying that you weren't manipulated, but I'm saying maybe you weren't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Okay.
I also think just one quick point on the whole, like, because if people are like, oh, get those terms of service in tip top shape. When I share success stories, like this whole idea of never making promises that don't hold up, I think that the easiest and most straightforward way around that, I like to share a variety of stories to highlight what is possible. And I'll say that directly and say, this is what's possible inside my program. It's in no way guaranteed. Every situation is going to be different, but I want to share with you a cross section of different outcomes. Not all outcomes are the same, and we're going to have to kind of get in there and see what it's like for you. But I do think showing people what's possible is really inspiring, as long as you're authentically storytelling and you're not, again, exaggerating.
Yeah, that's a really, really great point. Okay, so before you go, we had so many questions basically about how to or whether or not you should sell a low priced offer.
Oh, yes.
And I mean, the questions came in like a variety of ways. And if you're in the course now, like, and I don't really get to the specifics, some of these are like, would that be a great way to offer this as a one-time ask me in the group, because I'm probably not going to be able to get into all the details here. But this like hottest trend right now that I'm not going to totally shit on, but I have my reservations about. The hottest trend is selling a $27 product. It could be a course, it could be a template. Usually these things seem to be like templates,
Yeah,
or swipe files. So you'll see the ads, and it's because they're running ads to cold traffic, meaning people who have never engaged with your business before, in hopes that you'll buy. And a lot of people are seeing tremendous success with it. But I want to just point out what the back end of that looks like. These $27 products, after you buy one, you have, or while you're buying one, you have the option to add an order bump to, this might all be like ClickFunnels speak, I'm not sure. Add an order bump to checkout. So $27 product plus a $17, I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
And so that makes it whatever, you do the math on that. And then after you see that, you see a one-time offer, which is kind of similar to a tripwire if you're familiar with that, which is like, here's something for $97. You can get it in the next 15 minutes. And then whether or not you take that, there are more offers, upsells, downsells.
Yeah.
So these work. I've been on the back end of some of those ads. I've seen them work, but there are a number of things you need to know. One, you have to spend a lot of time creating all those products. And do you know if people want them at like a crazy high rate? You might have to create everything and then spend a lot of money on ads to figure it out.
Yeah. Yeah. I think on the front end, looking at like those 20, you see the ad for the $27 offer and you think, I've had that temptation too, guys, where I'm just like, man, I could make a $27 thing. Like this person's cleaning up. What you don't always see is what Claire's talking about. All of the stuff that's happening on the back end. I've seen a number of people go and create a $27 offer without all of the upsells, downsells, crazy stuff. And they're like, yeah, I'm making, $100 a month from this, and that would probably be like pretty good. So whenever I get tempted to do something like that, I normally ask myself, do I want to figure out all the things that it's going to take to create, $1,000 in revenue from a tiny offer? Or do I want to sell literally one seat into my signature program? And I usually just come back to, I can find a person, I can nurture a person versus, trying to appeal to scores and scores of traffic, get them in for $27 and then nurture them from there. It's just, I feel like it's a totally different business model. And we do have some friends who it's worked for, but I think what we're talking about with a workshop, if the question is like, do I do a workshop or a tiny offer? The workshop is like, I would not put it in tiny offer category. Yes, it's a lower price point for sure, but I feel like it's more so a taste of, it's like not a lead magnet, obviously, but it's not a tiny offer because like Claire said, she took like a little piece of her signature program and turned that into her workshop. So it's almost like a very meaty sample is what you're doing. And you're showing people like, hey, this is what it's like to work with me. Plenty of people are going to say, cool, this was great. I don't need anything else. And that's fine. You still got $99, but there's going to be a cross section of people who are either going to buy now into your signature program or your higher offer, which is great. Or they might not buy right now, but you still just did a hell of a lot of nurturing with them by having them on your workshop. So I think my experience has been people who doing the tiny offer thing. You're talking about lots and lots of traffic to make that into something that's going to give you a living. You know what I mean?
Whereas, and that means paid traffic. So
yes,
this I think is the most important thing. This whole model, because the thing that makes it sexy is build yourself a list of buyers. Right? So that's okay. I see the theory, you know, that like if the only people you have on your list are people who have already opened their wallet, like that just automatically qualifies them more than the people who just want free answers, right? You will have to become a Facebook ad motherfucking gangster.
Yeah, for sure.
You will have to you will almost never be able to hire an ads manager for it though, because your margins on that funnel are not usually high enough. There are some people who have the margins, but not like very few, unfortunately. Like people are basically, the goal should be to break even on your ads and then make sales of your higher level offers in launches or whatever, or on sales calls, or who knows how it works. So that's why I don't love, I mean, some people are great at ads, but you have to, it's sort of this like perfect storm where you have to have the right offers, you have to have the right positioning, you have to be in the right ads climate, because we're not going to see costs this low again. So something that's converting or breaking even now in this like whole many piece funnel just might not again later. And so like, okay, maybe you just subsidize your ad cost, but you could do that with a really simple tripwire.
Well, you said something really important too at the beginning of this little hangout that we're doing, which is that what we're talking about with the paid workshop is kind of for your current list.
It is. I say in the course, this is how you could sell it with ads, but it's not going to be a moneymaker like it would be to your existing list.
So if you put out a tiny offer, like a $27 to your current list, like sure, some people are going to buy it and that's fine, but why not just create a $99 workshop? I mean, for me guys, I feel like I didn't even give enough. You'll hear more details in the workshop magic if you buy in my bonus, but I had 40 seats. I sold them out. It was $4,000 for me. And it was like just $4,000 hiding in my list. I only have 3,400 people on my list. So these are people that were already paying attention to me, that just wanted to spend some time in quarantine learning with me, because I'm somebody that they like to learn from. And so, you know, like I could go out and try to externally, you know, use this very sophisticated, paid ads strategy, or I could just look for, it's like, Claire, I feel like you kind of shed this idea as you've been developing workshop magic, but originally you were saying there's always money in the banana stand for our Arrested Development fans out there. That's what it feels like. There's money in your list, just kind of hanging out. And so to me, the tiny offer versus this, they're two very different use cases.
Absolutely. Totally. Okay. Want to keep going. And Steph, if you need to hop off, you know, you just say the word. Is Shantae here? I would have to scroll through. Oh, I guess
I can hang out for like one more question and then I'll pop off.
All right, cool. Let's see. All right. So this is a good idea. If you had to build your email list to 1,000 people so that you can launch your course by end of June, what one activity would you go all in on besides Facebook ads?
I know my answer right away.
Go.
I would develop a winning community anchor that is based on action, that gives people a like very clear outcome. And I would go on a podcast roadshow. I would try to get on as many podcasts as possible. And I would almost develop like a kind of signature talk, if you will. Like I would, you know, have maybe 3 to 5 different topics that I would be pitching to people, and I would try to get on like 10 different podcasts. And at the end of those podcasts, I would always point people back to that community anchor. And that's That's how I did mine. And it wasn't all that long ago. I've only been at it for a couple of years. So.
Okay. But my only objection to that is that you don't have control over when people publish their episodes.
Mm-hmm.
And if you have like a June 30, not 31st, because I know June is definitely 30, what if you have that as your launch date? I think I would say exactly what you said, community anchored, like that's super important. And then Cami said JV webinars, but I would do, well, I don't know. Part of me is like JV webinars with a pitch, the same pitch for your course, unless the course isn't ready yet. And if it's not, then just JV webinars where people are signing up for your list, but there's no pitch and it's just being ridiculously useful. That's the only difference I would say.
Yeah, I agree with that. That makes sense. I didn't catch the part that we were working with the deadline on getting to that number at a certain time. A lot of people are saying, what's a community anchor? So maybe we've had some new peeps join us since I talked about it. So really quickly, a community anchor, we were talking about lead magnets earlier. Community anchor is a concept that I developed over in my signature program, which is called Crickets to Customers, where I teach people how to create a core piece of content that people, like you literally build a community around it. So mine is called the 15-minute planner method. It teaches you to plan your whole week in 15 minutes and get more done than you've ever gotten done before. And what it does is the people who download it, the people who use it, they kind of have like special lingo that goes into it because I teach rocks, pebbles, and sand, all this like weird stuff that people can kind of exchange language on. And it's basically just a really really actionable lead magnet that gives people a very valuable outcome.
Yep. And it's awesome. I mean, that's basically, I'd be lying if I said that I'd created a community anchor Steph's way, but the way people talk about it is insane.
Yeah. All right, you guys, I'm going to have to hop off, but thank you for letting me hang out, Claire. This has been super fun. I'm very excited for all of you guys who are joining Workshop Magic. Don't all of you guys go hopping off because there's more fun to come.
Oh yeah. Oh my God, this is the moment I was hoping for.
You want to say hi?
Oh, hi. She's wearing her ballet clothes.
All right, you guys, come visit me at courageandclarity.com. Thanks for having me, Claire.
And check out the podcast for sure, of course. Bye. Okay, Maestro. Let's bring her on. That could not have been more perfectly planned. I agree. Ladies and gentlemen, Shantae Cofield.
I'm here, Claire. Let's dance.
What's up?
How you doing? And Cami, what's up, Cami?
Yep. Everybody's here. We have a ton of questions to get through. Like lots of people pre-submitted. We've got some in the Q&A, but I want people to know about you and what you do. And also, let's talk about, I know you have two different types of workshops that you sell and run without my help whatsoever. You've been there before me. So I'm literally just going to turn off my camera for a second because I have to take off my sweatpants. I have sweatpants on under this and I'm so hot. So excuse me. I'll be covered though.
You take them off.
Okay.
Do your thing. That's amazing. I guess then that's my cue to tell about myself. I am a physical therapist by trade. I left the grind about, I want to say 8 years into practicing. I was just like, this is not for me. About 5 years into practicing, I discovered the digital space, namely through Instagram, and was like, this is really cool. Didn't really have any specific goals with anything. Just knew that I wanted to connect with people and kind of get my ideas out there, wherever out there meant. And since then, I have just been figuring out what I like to do within the digital space. I do coaching. I do a lot with Instagram in terms of coaching people how to use Instagram. I run a podcast. I have online courses. I do live workshops. I do small ones, big ones, and basically anything digital related except for ads. I love.
Because you don't really need them. Talk about why you don't need them.
Because I have about 55,000 followers on Instagram and they're really, really engaged. So
they're really engaged. Yeah. And I like to go places sometimes. Well, actually, I don't think I've been intoxicated in any of the recent times where I've done this, where I go, I show people your Instagram. I'm like, look, look how ugly it is. I use that
Yeah.
word because it's just not Instagrammy, you know, but it's
Exactly,
not
it's
ugly.
real. It's like I actually coach people away from using tiles and really curated feeds because it stops them from posting because they're like, I don't know what I want to post today. I need to make it look like this, but I don't have that. And I'm like, fuck all of it. Just post. People don't scroll back anyway. This isn't Pinterest. So
Right. Oh my gosh. Yes. Okay. So talk about your workshops. I mean, you have a lot, like you sell online courses. Actually, well, give us a little bit of an update on like your current business model.
current business model is, so I teach kind of 2 tracks, right? I have the clinical side of things, and then I also have the digital business side of things where I coach people. And I also have a continuity that brings both of those together. And that just runs all the time. So what I was doing before was I would do in-person courses, right? Teaching in-person movement courses. And then everything digital was my online courses, my online coaching, or online, PT remote sessions, things like that. My goal this year was to travel less because I was traveling like every weekend to do in-person seminars and such. So I scheduled less of them. So Corona actually hasn't changed anything for me. I've only had to move one of my in-person workshops. And because I had to move it, what I said was, you know what, guys, we're going to move it to September. So hopefully that's even okay. But we're going to move to September, but we're going to hold the same course. I'm going to condense it and we're going to do it online on the date that you guys were supposed to take it. This way you get that information now and you don't have to wait. And I said, I'm also going to build in a section where we talk about delivering telehealth because I've been doing it for years. So this way,
wow.
They already had paid for the spot. So I'm like, if you want a refund, because like times are tough, go ahead, guys. I'll give you a refund. I have no problem with that. But I know that, some people are fine. So if you want to stay with this, I'm going to over deliver here. I will do this course in one day virtually, and then we can go even deeper when I see you guys in September. And so it went really well. And I was like, you know what? I'm going to host this thing again because I like it better than having to travel. It's only one day instead of 2. I get to talk about the business side of things and the digital side of things, which is like really where my passion is right now. So I'm doing that. I'm doing like one-off workshops, like you said, like webinars. And
but they're not webinars. Let's be honest. Webinars are to sell. You just did a workshop.
I mean, so I think that really depends on what the world, like what your background is. For me, webinars were never to sell. So I come from right. So in the healthcare space, webinars just for information. The thought of even having it even be paid is crazy. Like no one does that. And I was like, we're gonna charge for this. And upselling, the phrase or the term upsell isn't even like known in my community. They're like, what does that mean? So it's really quite different. So webinar, to me, the difference is just what you want to call it and the story you want to tell, whether you want to say it's a webinar or a workshop or a live course. To me, they're all the same, except for with my live course, I do it through Zoom so I can see their faces. For the webinar, I do it like this where I can't see their faces. But there's no difference in how, for me, it was just kind of the price point in the story.
Okay. So tell us just about the $15 workshop that you just did, or webinar, or whatever you want to call it.
Yeah. The $15, I called it a maestro class instead of a master class because we're always branding, right? So the whole webinar was about pricing because I see people struggling right now and they're like, it's a big question with people. It's like, how much should I charge? And like, Corona's here, so I charge less. And I was like, you're not an accountant, like let people figure their shit out. But I digress with that. So I was like, I'm going to put on a webinar. And I priced it at $15 because I was like, I'm going to make this a no-brainer, but you're going to pay because when you pay attention. And this way, part of my goal this year was to do paid webinars. So everything just happened perfectly. I was already planning on doing this, but I needed to introduce my audience to this concept of paying for something that they hadn't historically paid for. So I was like, I'm also going to make it low price for that. And I'm going to go for volume, right? So for me, I don't like selling. I don't like sales calls. Nothing against them. I don't like doing them. So I was like, I'll make it really low and I'll get volume. I promoted it on my Instagram. But before I said I was doing it, I asked them, I was like, would you guys be interested in this? Yes, no. People were like, yeah. So I was like, all right, we're going to do it. I turned this around in a week. I put it out to my list one time. I don't go real hard selling in the list. I have about 4,500 people on my email list. So take that for what.
Do you remember like back when you were first launching The breathing course. How many people on your list?
I'm trying to remember. Maybe half that.
I guess maybe it's like the wait lists have been a lot smaller.
Yes.
Okay.
The wait lists are always smaller because I segment them out. But I don't do a lot of selling in my list. In my list, I just talk to people. I just send emails and I'm like, hey, how are you doing? And get feedback from them and communicate. And then every now and then, if I'm selling something, I'm like, if you want this thing, here it is. And then they'll get tagged and I can give them emails and such. But I usually don't go super crazy in there. Instagram is a real big one for me.
Meanwhile, I go super crazy with the selling.
Yeah. And I read your stuff. Like I love reading it. Like I think people know what they're going to get from people and like they're okay with it. I love unsubscribes because I'm like, you're a freeloader. I was paying for you. Get the hell out of here. You didn't want this shit anyway. So
yeah, it's funny. I mean, I just wanted to throw that out there because sometimes when you meet somebody online, like some people are meeting you and they're like, oh my God, this is like that she is doing things differently. So that means I have to stop, like selling via email. There is no right way.
no, there's no right. Yeah.
But I will tell you all that like watch the Maestro to see business done differently than it's typically done online. And, maybe that's easier to do in your niche, but maybe it's also just because of who you are. So
I think there's so many factors with it. And that's why I love like just doing something like this. I talk about you all the time and I'm like, you guys, like, there's no one right or wrong way to do business. It's whatever feels best for you. And then, from the movement world, typically the answer for most things is both. Like do more of both things. And so it's like learn from as many people as possible and see what's working for them and what sits nicely with you. And then do it. And then like the big thing is like listen to your people and what they need. Go from there.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So you up for some questions?
Isn't that why we're here?
Yeah. Okay. So I'm actually going to go, I don't know why I didn't think of this at the beginning. You all are here live. So I should get the live questions answered, not the pre-submitted ones first. So, okay. Just some hellos. That's awesome. So Valerie says, do you think a workshop for weight loss would work? I think my flight crews, Valerie, Valerie's got the most interesting niche. It's weight loss for flight crews.
Oh,
like niche. Yes.
Love it.
Valerie, workshops are good for anyone who can solve a problem. And now if they're just so much better, everything is better live right now. If your audience can be there live, right? Like if your flight crews, if they're like at home, right? Some workshops for emergency room doctors, not going to work, but like I just bought something TMI to help me prepare for birth. And I wish it was a fucking workshop because I haven't opened it yet. Yeah. And the weeks are ticking by, so like Absolutely. If you have something that you can help people with, a workshop is always better than like a course or, and then that I know Valerie does like one-on-one. Well, I'm assuming because of the business model. So then it's an easy upsell from the workshop because people are going to love you the way I do. All right. So Valerie asked, what is a good time length for a live workshop and what other supplies are helpful? Whiteboard, slide. Okay. Well, I give all the details of this stuff inside the course. So definitely jump on that. But because I've heard this question about like length a few times, I personally am very curious about what you think, Shantae. I feel like 90 minutes to 2 hours is like the max, but just because of people getting anxious. I mean, it's been an hour and 15 minutes that we've been here. How are you all feeling? Kind of like maybe you're ready for something else. I mean, we switched up the co-host. If you all have to go to the bathroom, that's totally fine. Yeah. Look how red my cheeks are. I'm very self-conscious. But so that's how I feel. And then I split mine up into multiple days. Whereas like a friend of mine did, she had like from 1 to 4:30 and she built breaks into it. Mm-hmm. To me, that would have been like, I don't like, once I did actually sit through a lactation class in Argentina. So it was in Spanish, not my first language. It was 4 hours and I died.
Yeah.
Didn't learn anything. That's why I'm now trying to learn online.
Yeah, I totally agree. Like my course that I run is 7 hours the whole day. So it's my audience. They're used to sitting and going to a class. So that's also why I made it 1 day instead of 2. So it's 9 to 4. I hosted at different times, but it would be 9 to 4 but I put 9 to 4 on there knowing that I'll get them out early. So they feel excited. Like, oh, we're gonna get done early. I have an hour built in for lunch, and then I take breaks throughout the day. That's also why I really strongly suggest using Zoom if you're going to do anything longer, so you can see the people and you can tell, and you're like, yeah, you're like getting a little tired, guys. Let's take a break.
Yeah.
So I like make it a point when I send things out beforehand. I'm like, bring your dogs, bring your pets, have a drink. Like we're going to make learning fun because we are going to be here a bit longer. And this is also why we're not doing it 2 days, but I think 90 minutes to like 2 hours at the max. The software I use actually cuts it off at 2 hours, which is good. It's like,
oh, okay, cool. Awesome. All right, terrific. Lana asks, is there a better day and time to run a workshop? I also go over this, but it's mostly just about your audience and you. Tracy asked, what's her site again? I think she was talking about Courage and Clarity, which I'm pretty sure we put in there into the chat. Giselle says, how crazy is this strategy for a product that are only around the $100 mark, give and take, and selling the live workshop for something like, you mean the workshop strategy? You have to do the math, Giselle. You have to, so like, let's say, this is an interesting question because not everyone's going to be at my upsell is, $1,100. So people whose upsell is 100, it's different. Where are you, calculator? There you are. All right. So let's say you do a workshop for $35. Let's see, 35 times, and let's say you get 30 people in, right? That's wrong. Oh no, it wasn't. So that's $1,000 right there, 1050 for you. And then out of 30, let's say you have a 10%. Well, no, let's do a little bit better. Let's say you have a 20% conversion rate. So that means 6 out of the 30 people buy your $100 thing, right? So that's $1,050 plus $600. So that you're kind of looking at like the max of your revenue from a workshop is going to be $1,650. So my question to you, Giselle, is how does that feel? Right? I talk in the course about how there was a minimum that I was willing to do the workshop for, and that everyone should think about their own minimum. And I think my minimum was actually $1,500. And I wasn't thinking about the upsell. I was thinking workshop only, because to be honest, the upsell was a total experiment. I had no idea if it would work. I just thought maybe I'll try it, but I was looking to bring in revenue. I was panicked and I was looking to bring in revenue, toot sweet. And 1,500 was my minimum. So right there, that's, so you need to think about the math and be like, is it enough for me if I only bring in $500 from this to do a workshop? Is $500 enough for you and your family to make the work involved in this worth it? That's all you have to ask yourself. Oh yeah, Giselle, if you already bought Workshop Magic before the party, yes, you're in the bonus, the sales page copy. Yeah, I can't thank y'all. The sales page copy workshop for sure. Okay. Dodie says, Claire, every time you say you need a captive audience for Workshop Magic, to work, I keep feeling there's got to be a way to work it without the list and a tool to build your list. Do you mean literally without the tool? Like without? Because Dodie, don't you not use, okay, I think I understand where Dodie's question is coming from because she was on my workshop. You're saying that, can you do it without having a tool like Convertkit? If you have a newsletter, like I know you do, and you're not using a tool to send out the newsletter, then yes, you can do this. So your list, I mean, she has an audience. I'm not quite sure about the question, so please feel free to give us some more info. But if you are sending out a newsletter and your newsletter is growing organically, because I know that yours is, then you can do this. All right. So those were the questions in the Q&A, but y'all can feel free to submit more. If we're not getting to them in the chat because we're just not seeing them, then feel free to pop them into the Q&A. Okay. So what do you think? What is your number one way, Shantae, to increase subscribers? What's your go-to?
Number one way, the fastest way that you're going to get more eyes is to get reposted or shared or, collaborate with somebody else whose audience likes what you're doing. At the end of the day, that's going to be the fastest way to do it without bombarding people.
And
but,
without ads.
Yeah, without ads. I never run it, so.
And it's also like far superior method because of the quality.
Yeah. So
it's
like you have to get it would be, so if it's just like Instagram parlance, the fastest way to grow your followers is to get reposted by another account with a lot of followers. And those followers have to really trust the person who's reposting you. It's the same for anything, but if we're just talking about Instagram specifically, it'd be like, if I reposted Claire, my people trust me so much. And I was like, this woman, if you guys have questions about ads, that's what we do. Like, this is the woman to go to. She would grow faster than any other route because I have a lot of eyes on me. But I think tying into that, the fastest thing to do, the best thing to do is to have your own success, right? You have to be good at what you're doing, be remarkable, because that's what's going to make people want to actually share your stuff and be interested in sharing your stuff, right? So it's like, if I think about our relationship, I'm like, I want to share Claire's stuff because Claire herself is awesome and Claire does remarkable work. Like, if Claire was just like, like, I'd be like, she's cool, but I have no reason to put you in front of my audience who I trust and love and like want to really take care of. So it's really important that you yourself are also like being kick-ass. And that could be with a really small audience. Maybe you only have, if we're talking about followers again, I don't care if you have 5 followers, but you have the super loyal people and you're doing remarkable work, that's fine too. But I think it's also important that people realize, like, are you good at what you do?
Okay, so to translate like basically what you were saying on Instagram into non-Instagram, it's sort of the same thing that Cammie said earlier, is just get in front of other people's audiences with some kind of, it can be a joint webinar. It can be like, I do a lot of, the one that just worked like crazy for me was I did a webinar with no pitch whatsoever with the Meet Edgar company. So they have a huge list.
Wow.
And I didn't get those people. It's not like they gave me the list of the people who signed up or anything. No. People just followed my calls to action, which were, I have this free thing on that. I have this free thing on that. And I think I got 100 subscribers in a day.
And you were live, Claire, as a workshop?
Yes.
I think that's huge for you too, because you're great on camera. It's a great medium for you. So they can fall in love with you more than even, doesn't really matter if you're even offering, I would say. It's just like, I want to know Claire. She got awesome hair and I love her and she's funny and she curses. What is this free thing? I need it. Like, it's a no-brainer for you. It's a great way to get you in front of people, for sure.
Yeah. And I also just want to talk a little bit more about what being remarkable means, because it's not like you ever watched one of my tutorials, implemented it, and then was like, oh, this is amazing. No, it was
your personality. For you, is your personality. 1, personality. 2, your work ethic. And 3, your knowledge of it. As soon as I got you on the podcast and we started talking about ads, and like, I was like, you can tell when someone's in their element, right? That's one of the reasons I love podcasts, and one of the reasons I do love face-to-face, because you can see when they light up. I think it's one of the reasons, like, as a healthcare provider, it's like what we do is you watch people and you can see their body language about stuff. And when Claire talks about ads and really gets going with that shit, she's just like in it. And you were the first person I like understood what a pixel was. I was like, oh, this is amazing. So just like your passion for it, the things you've been doing, I can go look at your website. I can go look at your body of work, how many articles and things like that you had up in videos. I'm like, this woman is in it. It's not this like fleeting thing where she's just trying to make a buck. She loves this. So that's what ties into it.
Tracy says on fire. Giselle found me through the Meet Edgar webinar and didn't even watch it. So she must have just followed a link. Okay, cool. So Braden asks, if my goal is to pitch my $49 a month membership at the end of the workshop, should I make it a lower dollar offer? Or do you think it's better to do like $197 and cap it at 10 people? It's a pretty dense. Braden, didn't you say that you just joined Workshop Magic? Because I feel like we need to dissect this a little more. I have follow-up questions. So, because I'm not quite sure when you say it, I don't know what you mean by the lower dollar offer.
All the things. He joined all the things.
Oh, good. Yeah. Braden also just joined Absolute FB Ads. He's got his ads running right now. I love the people who join and immediately get their ads running. Or just like get their pixel in place.
Yeah.
It's amazing. Okay, and now my little one has walked into the room.
Yes.
Yes.
Mine hasn't.
Hold on, I'm talking to people. What's up? Yours hasn't because you don't have one.
Nothing. No one's walked in.
Can you ask Daddy?
No.
Okay, gracias. She just, ¿puedes cerrar la puerta? She just asked me if, she just told me that in a few minutes dinner is going to be ready.
Oh, important.
Yeah. Oh God. Yeah, Daddy is inferior to Mommy. But anyway, unfortunately, it's like the bigger my belly gets, the more inferior he gets. Okay, cool. So somebody asked how to price your course or product. Can they still access your webinar?
Yeah.
Great. Can we get a link or just a link to your site where they can find it?
I can pull it up right now.
It's $15.
$15. I'm going to tell you guys right now, Claire told you in the beginning, I do things very differently. I'm more along the lines of like a Seth Godin approach, where it's like, let's be storytellers, let's create super fans, let's get people really involved and in love with you, and then you can sell them whatever you want, whenever you want, however you want, they'll buy it. So it's a long game approach though. Like it does not like a quick injection into anything.
Mm-hmm.
But if you're playing a longer game, that's what it's going to talk about.
Yeah, I love that. And so that's a $15 webinar that has no upsell, right?
Zero upsell, which is the cool thing about it, that right. So because it's 2 hours, right, it cuts off at the end, and so at the end I have like a slide that just says like what I have, and I went to it really quickly because I was trying to answer all the questions in the thing, and people were like, go back to that slide, and I was like, it's fine, it's on my website. And after that, like people writing to me asking for coaching, people buying my Instagram program. Again, a lot of people that are on that webinar, they know me in some capacity. It's not purely cold traffic. So for me, you're talking about it a little bit before, and I talk about this in the webinar, like, what is it worth to you, right? If you look at the definitions of like worth, value, price, cost, we have this monetary association with things and like this tangible association. But in reality, most of us are going with this more subjective, what does this feel for me? Feel like for me? And that's kind of what I tie into. So for me to make it worth it, it wasn't really about how much money I'd make on it. I knew I'd do decent because I have a big enough audience, but I knew that I'd get them in front of me for 2 hours, and I'm really good on camera. I'm really good talking to people. And I was like, the value they're going to get out of this, and seeing how I think, because so many of them are really with me for the movement side, and they're coming into the business side. And so to have 2 hours of me talking business to them, it's going to be hugely valuable. And like what the woman that was on before was talking about nurturing the audience, like it's incredible there. So they're like, oh my God, look at all this value that you gave me. You over delivered, you answered all the questions, you think like this. That brings them into me. And like obviously I get them on my list too because of that, but it brings them into my universe. And now that's where my wheelhouse is. So for me, that's why the low price was okay. Cause I knew so I got 200 people signed up for that. 225, I think we're at now. Like 89% have watched it, which is really good.
That's insane.
You said it before too, though. Like, this is also why I love live stuff. Like for me, something I always say is that your results are my reputation. So I want people to do things. I want people to go and like take action. So when it's live, they're there doing it. It's fine if they want to watch the replay. It's fine if they want to like buy my online course, but I always encourage them, like, take the live thing, because it's the best way that I can help ensure that you actually like do something, at least start doing something.
Yeah. So I include that in module 3 of Workshop Magic, which is basically how to really get people to do something during the workshop, not just sit and watch, but finish something. So in my case, it was getting them to like set up conversion tracking, which is a bitch, and writing a version of ad copy. Like even if they didn't get picked for the feedback, just they had to get it done and submitted to possibly get picked. So they're just 2 steps, important steps closer.
Huge.
And like they have all the tools to actually get the ads up and running. Will they? That's up to them.
Yeah, it's up to them.
But I think just getting those wins it's twofold, and I didn't really think about this. One, it's just people are more likely to buy something else from you when they feel like they're accomplishing something thanks to your help. And the other thing is just that reputation piece.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, I got stuff done. I maybe never got another ad running, but I did something that made me, and yeah,
which is huge. I think that, I mean, we live in this digital space. Like, how many things have you bought and done shit with it? Like, to actually go on a call and be like, oh, we did something. Like, that's already a huge win for you as the host. Like, I love that you do that. I love it. This is why I love Claire. She does the things. All you people, go buy her stuff. Get things done. I put a pixel up. I like did things after we had the webinar. I mean, the podcast. I was like, oh, I could do this.
Oh, nice. Very important.
Good stuff.
Cool. Hey, just FYI, I have so many pre-submitted questions, but if any of you, I told you at the beginning, don't resubmit them in the Q&A, but that's a lie, because I want to make sure if you're here live, I want to make sure I get to your question. Or if you put something in the chat and I didn't see it. So put it in the little Q&A box that's below our face, and I'll just kind of keep cherry picking questions from here. So this is a tough question. Jessica, who's also a member of the Accelerator program that I'm a big fan of, says, what's the number one shift you made that really helped you and or your business move to the next level?
For me?
Yeah.
I sold my first digital product. That was the biggest thing. That was a big shift for me. So I was doing everything in person and teaching. And that's a dollars for hours model, which is totally fine and a great way to start, but it's limited. And I did my very first online product, which was a digital product, which was a breathing course, and made $25,000, and was like, I could do this. And I haven't looked back since. And that was not that long ago. That was 2019, I guess. It was last year, the beginning of last year.
Oh, right. Yeah, that's right. That was your first online one. Cause I remember the Cyber Monday one was something else, but
I put them together. So when we did Cyber Monday, because I don't like Black Friday, but when we did Cyber Monday, I did my Instagram course and my breathing course together. It's like a bundle.
No, but the first time you went out on your own to sell like Movement with the Maestro.
Oh yeah.
That was
I sold that on Cyber Monday 2018.
Right.
Yeah, and then yes, exactly, because I launched it in New Zealand. It was like a whole fucking.
Yes. I mean, not just to the New Zealand market, but
No. I was physically in New Zealand teaching the course, because I went over to Thanksgiving because they don't have Thanksgiving. So I taught my and I was like, we're going to do a Cyber Monday thing. So I launched it while I was there.
Wow. So this is a really good question. Sorry, before I go on to me, was there any like major mindset shift that you had to make? Did you have resistance to like creating your first digital product, or was it just a time question? Basically, what took you so long? And it didn't take you that long, but
it wasn't a thing. So remember, I live in the movement space. So I was doing the stuff that we do in our movement world, and we do in-person workshops and things like that. But like a digital course, like wasn't a thing. So like before that, I started like getting ideas, but like that's why I went to Convertkit and met you. I had just like gotten an email list, and then I like went to Podcast Movement, and I was like learning the digital space and like seeing what things existed. And then I was like, I could do this, but I gotta figure out like what I want to do. I launched it on shitty ass Vimeo. I didn't even launch like an actual course. It was just a video. It's like a 2-hour long video. I didn't know. I was like, I'm just going to do it.
I was like, why are you using Vimeo?
I didn't know. I didn't know it was out there. And like, I like to take messy action. I'm very big with being an early adopter, and was like, all right, I'm going to do this now that I've gotten enough information, but I didn't know that it existed. So that's why I didn't do it.
Yeah. Okay. That's really interesting. When I started my business in 2014, like I knew about everything because I had worked for a company that was in. The funny story, Giselle, is that I used to work for Meet Edgar before it was Meet Edgar. So yeah, did you not know that? That was my last job. So I got like what I call a master's degree in online business by working for that company. So what I did for like the first, I don't know the years anymore, several years was I put out a lot of content. I just put out a lot of content, but I didn't really sell very much. I didn't tell people how they could pay me. I didn't feel confident in my offers. I didn't do a good job of collecting or asking for testimonials. So I also didn't have those, which are important to sell, blah, blah, blah. So I think the biggest shift, Jessica, was focusing. I spent a year and I focused more than a year, actually. 2017 was the year I basically stopped creating content and started doing a lot of launches and a lot of sales. Okay, thank you.
I love it. Her little voice.
Lou, no voy a bajar, ¿eh? Estoy acá un rato más. Sorry. For those of you who don't know, I met my husband in Argentina. She was born in Argentina. We speak in Spanish at home. And that's why the Spanish sounds funny, because
So
it's
good.
from
It's
Argentina. So I just stopped creating content and I started selling, because I had a lot of content and I had a lot of traffic from Google, but I wasn't doing anything with it. I wasn't making money off of it. So I think that was probably the biggest move. And also really having to work on my own confidence. Really, really, like listening to people like Shantae instead of being like, oh, whatever. I don't know why she likes me. Bye.
You're the coolest every day. I'm like, every day I will tell you, Claire, you're the coolest. I think that was huge. I think I would say my second would be that like I started selling things and like understanding what it meant to like sell stuff. Like I'm a content monster. I love making content. And then it was like, oh, like now give people a way to pay you. I didn't know what that way was before. So it wasn't like I was like, I'm not doing it. I was like, guess I like doing this thing anyway. I'm gonna keep doing it. And then it was like, oh, there's like, you could get paid for this. And I was like, sold.
Yes. Tom is absolutely right.
Totally.
The limiting beliefs are fierce out here. And I wonder, and I'm curious about what you all think, is if there's less emphasis now, if there's not enough emphasis now on teaching building relationships through content. Because it seems like all of the programs I learn about or I see are about like this, just sell. I'm in a program which is about selling. It's about setting up your evergreen funnels and launching. And like, there's all kinds of stuff about list building and obviously Facebook ads. But what I wonder if what my community needs, like people who are running ads, is do you also need to like figure out how to nurture people with content? Because maybe that's just no longer, it used to be the thing, right? Blogging mostly, then video, Instagram. Instagram.
Dude, you're saying it. You're hitting the nail on the head. Like you're watching, people's attention spans haven't gone down. It's just what's being delivered, right? So like we're at TikTok right now, which is huge. TikTok is like 5-second videos, and it's really good for young people that don't mind spending a lot of time, like a lot of like really putting effort into this thing that's purely entertainment based. But we've moved so far away from the side of blogs and like this long form content that like really engages the reader and allows for this kind of interactions. Like I said before, I think the answer is always both. And like getting back to that is huge. I think that's like the best way to like pandemic proof your business. Like I don't think anything could sink my business. I'm like that confident that people are there, that I will pivot with them and I will be there with them. So I think if we can take both strategies where it's like nurture your people, love on your people, and then here's how you sell to them because you have to eat. Like you're golden.
You do have to do like everything. I mean, and I think some people, the sales part comes more easily. Some people, the content part comes more easily. And some people are like, oh, I need to learn both of these and figure it out. All right. A couple questions that have come in. Michelle asked, best practice here. Let me read the question that she actually submitted. How to ethically re-engage a stale email list without sounding like everyone else who is desperate for sales / to maintain top of mind. Michelle, I would like to know, because you're here and this is it's an interesting question. What are you seeing from everyone else, and what are they doing that you perceive as desperate for sales or to maintain top of mind?
You're so good, Claire.
And also, Michelle, I'd like to know who your audience is. Like, what do you sell them? And then while you're typing that in, I'm going to answer Tamara's question. My niche is personal branding and wardrobe strategy. I'm looking at workshops personal branding and wardrobe strategy. So maybe Tamara, you can tell us, is personal branding like personal branding for a business? Is wardrobe strategy about personal brand photo shoots, or is it about like just your personal style? I'm looking at workshops in this area specifically to help people master their image in a digital setting. Okay, there she gives me more info. I'm always afraid of either doing too many things in one workshop or too few. How does that get covered in Workshop Magic? It does. I don't go into extreme depth about it, but tomorrow I would just say, like, go through that module and then come into the group and let us know like what you're thinking, how you're thinking of structuring, what you're thinking of including or not, and we can kind of, I mean, really what you need to do is break down, like, how much time is this going to take, not for you to present it, for people to incorporate it, for you to present it, for people to ask questions, for you to give examples, because everything takes longer than you think. Is that true for you, Shantae? Did your pricing thing go longer than you thought?
In terms of how long the actual session was?
Yes.
Only because of questions, but like I teach for a living, so I'm pretty good at like knowing how long it's going to take to deliver the content.
Okay.
But typically, yes, that's the best part, is that you will run long because you get into it. Suddenly you realize, like, this is my wheelhouse. I do know stuff about this. And then someone asks a question and the floodgates are opened.
Yes, no, totally. I feel the same way with questions, and it's even happened just here.
Yeah, it's
Like,
great.
yeah. So she says, awesome, that's super helpful. Thank you. The limiting belief I have is it really important? And yes, I've been doing it for nearly 15 years. Are people paying you for like, basically, have you validated this as a business? My guess is yes, if you've been doing it for 15 years. So then you have to ask yourself, why are you deciding that it's not important right now, or a period? Like, is that just so that because you've said it's not really that important, so I shouldn't try to sell it because it will be easier for you to not sell it? Like, I was telling Steph, I don't want to create something new because I was afraid of the time it would take and then for it to not pan out. The thing is, in Workshop Magic, I teach you exactly how to validate your idea before you put together a sales page, before you start even working on the content of your workshop. So
for sure.
for sure, they do pay me. I've been doing it for 15 years, but I still have this salary. Okay, it's time to shut that down tomorrow. Time to shut it down. Okay, so Michelle says,
I love Claire the most.
sorry, I'm just trying to find where she starts. Okay. I love a do great with in-person live teaching, learning to transfer this online and how writing so well, needing help. I'm a voice teacher.
It's awesome.
Who gives me reassurance that long form material, in-depth content and courses is still wanted. In-person business is no longer safe. Some of my students have moved to remote lessons. But I will need to find a whole new set of students who want remote lessons. In times like these, okay, so here's the examples. Cool. Hey, Shantae, there's a question about Instagram. If you want to like pop that into the chat while I now kind of revisit. Do you see that question from Valerie?
Do you think sharing on IG is better in stories or just on their pages? The answer is always both, right? There's two things there. One, if you want better answers, ask better questions. So it's kind of like, what does better mean? What's your goal? What's the intent? What are you trying to do? And then that's going to dictate whether you're like living it more towards the page or towards the feed or towards the stories. There are more eyes on stories, but just do both. So do a post, because those live forever. Technically, you're building your body of work so people can go and get a feel for you right away. They go look at it and they're like, this person has some content. They know what they're talking about. Like, they're not going to scam me. Like, they're into this. And then stories are great because they disappear. But I use those to really give insight to me as a human. Like, those where you deliver your knowables. So people know that I drive a Jeep, that I love country music, like that I love recycling trucks. Like, they love the mechanical arm. They tag me in mechanical arm videos now. Like, so that's where you deliver your personality. Like, really look to connect with your people there, and then really look to establish yourself as the expert within the feed.
Brilliant. Okay. And Michelle, to answer your question, I think I finally gotten to the root of it. Is basically, it sounds like what you're just afraid of doing is sounding like everyone else talking about in times like these, or, you know, we all need to come together. What I would do is write an email to one person. You could write it to me if you want, or I recommend, you know, somebody who really knows your business, maybe like one client that you've had, and just write as yourself. Don't think of it as like a marketing, like, oh, I have to do this the right way. Just what I do, and I think it appeals to the people who typically pay me, is I just write like myself. I think of, you know, sometimes I've used templates, and those emails tend to be really boring in my opinion. But mostly I'm just like, yo, I'm trying to get this pizza right now. It is taking a long time, but it gives me enough time to tell you this. You know, like I try to inject personality for sure. But Michelle, what I would actually make sure you do not do, and Chana, maybe I want to know what you think. Don't apologize for like not showing up for a while. You're back. Okay. And the people who are there for it and need your work and don't have time to wait to get voice lessons because they have goals and plans that are, you know, unfortunately being stalled. But when they can go on auditions, or, you know, whomever you're really helping, when they have the opportunity to literally use their voice again in person, they need to be prepared. So sometimes what I start my emails with is, I've heard from a lot of you. And that's not always true. But it helps me, like I really imagine that this is what what they're thinking. I'm sorry, maybe I shouldn't have shared the truth about that, because then you're like serving that need. You know, I'm hearing from a lot of you that you're looking for something more affordable. I think I might have even said that when I was validating my workshop idea, because I'd heard it over the years, like, your course is too expensive. So I just put it in the now. I don't know if that helps at all. Email, re-engaging is not quite my skill set. Okay. Cool. Alrighty. We still got some more. Ooh, this is a great one. Tips for confidence to ignore the small town mentality and get beyond the limits of the hometown.
Look at your face. I mean, you can just look at simple statistics there. If you go on Instagram, there's 1 billion active users. That's not small town. Like, there's people there. There are eyes there. It's going to take time to do everything. I think, though, I would try to flip everything and think about, what do you have with you right now that is a benefit? And I think that people that are coming from small towns, you have a leg up because of that connection factor. You understand what it's like to know everyone. You understand what it's like to actually like feel like somebody cares for you. You know what it's like to actually have someone say hello and like care when you say hello back, and not just like walk by you. Like, I lived in New York City for 9 years. Like, it's very different there. So you take that feel and do that mass scale. That's what people want. They want connection. They want to be able to have those relationships. So I would take that and flip it, and not see it as a limiting belief, but see it as a kind of a superpower that you have that other people aren't privy to.
That's awesome. Yeah, when I read this question, I kind of thought of it like, and I could be totally wrong, but I think this is an important point as well. I thought of like small town mentality is like, you're never going to amount to anything, or you should be playing small. And I would say that, like, I have this in my family a little bit. Nobody has ever said it, but like, we are Irish Catholic. Everyone in my family was like, is or has been a teacher or a social worker. So like, nobody's made any money. And like, it was just really, it's been a challenge for me to break that cycle. And I guess I learned to work on that stuff. If your stuff is around money, mostly, I've learned from Denise Duffield Thomas. She has a great book, which I read and then manifested getting myself fired. I literally said the day before I was fired, I wish she would just fire me. So anyway, but like the book is called Get Rich Lucky Bitch. And I highly recommend that for any kind of money mindset things. Beyond that, there are a lot of books about mindset.
Yeah.
There's one called, and I haven't read it yet, but one called Do It Scared that I've heard a lot about. I'm just putting some things in the chat. Get Rich Lucky Bitch. This literally, that book, Get Rich Lucky Bitch, changed my life.
That's huge.
Yeah. All right, cool. What else?
That's huge, Claire. I love that you said that. Like, if you have deep issues, like you have to take care of them first. It will always come back to hold you back. Like that's when I start workshops and I teach stuff, I'm always like, handle your shit first. And I say that in the nicest way possible, but like it will literally hold you back like an anchor, even if you're destined for like the best things ever.
Yeah.
And you have all the skills.
I didn't handle my shit first. I've been handling it over the past few years, but that's the reason why I started becoming significantly more see, I can't even say why I've become more successful, because that to me is like, you don't say that as an Irish Catholic person.
Yeah.
But I've been more effective in my business. Let's say that.
I like that.
Alrighty. How do you continually stay inspired to produce fresh content? No, fresh copy. I tend to take 12 showers a day just to get my creative juices flowing. Showers are where my brain gets most creative. 100% the same. I also think of all my ideas, not copy ideas, but all of my good ideas come from the shower.
Yeah. I have a thing in there, like a pad in there that I can write on.
Do you really?
Yeah, it's called like wet notes or something like that. Aqua notes. It's called aqua notes. With like pencil, and like the paper is like, I don't know. Nice waterproof paper. So I can write it down.
Wow. So, but like outside of the shower. So one thing that Steph, who was on earlier, she taught me is brain dumping things.
Yep.
And that tends to be about productivity, but it just is also stories. Like just, if you sit and think about what are some stories that you remember, you don't even have to tie them into anything yet. Just come up with your stories, lots of them. I mean, that's what copywriters do. Mm-hmm. They have banks of stories. They get their clients to give them banks of stories, and they just use them. And whenever I can, whenever I sit down to write an email, I try to think, is there a story that I can tell to get into this topic? Braden says, oh, perfect. He's got the Amazon list, the book. And actually what happened was I listened to her book and then manifested getting fired. So yeah, that book is amazing. The right to one person is helpful. Yeah. I never believe I'm hearing from a lot of people. Michelle, maybe you shouldn't.
The classic influencer line. A lot of people ask me about my skincare routine.
Right.
Nobody fucking asked you about your skincare routine, but we'll listen now.
Yeah. But I really think that if you can say it because it's been said over time, that counts.
Totally.
Now I'm defending myself.
Nah, I don't think you need to defend yourself at all. I think it's totally true. And like there's merit in that, because like just like some people don't trust it, other people are like, yeah, they want to be within that group and be like, I'm not the only one thinking it. That's awesome.
Yeah. Okay, so somebody asks, how can I structure a single session offer like a workshop so that it naturally leads to a high level offer, like a membership or a group program? You join Workshop Magic and I tell you exactly how. That's exactly what you get in the course. We also have some Facebook ad questions like, how can I sell a 3K course from Facebook ads? You can come into my Facebook ad course and we can we can try a bunch of different ways, but it's not just going to be ads. Like this is a good moment for my, Michelle, you missed this on the Meet Edgar podcast, workshop, which is Facebook ads do not sell things in a vacuum. It's like ads to a really effective webinar or ads to a community anchor like Steph's that then you nurture. It's not the ad alone. So hoping that it will be, unfortunately, is a pipe dream. Okay. Somebody asked, how do you keep your hair so fluffy? I started buying better products, to be honest. I think it's always been kind of frizzy. It's always had I have a lot of hair. It's not thick, but there's many, 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 many strands. No, that's what I've been told.
It's amazing.
But
I love you.
I started buying what they sold at the salon, and not the Redken products, which they have as well. Those are more expensive, but my salon makes their own shampoo and conditioner. So it's less expensive, but it's still more expensive than like CVS.
Yeah.
And it has made a remarkable difference. Let's see what
Hair's
else.
been very thick. Sonia, I use multiple apps and stuff to like create the pictures and such. But for captions, I use this thing called Zubtitle, ZUB title. It's a website. You have to go back and forth from your phone to the computer and such. But that's how I add captions onto my videos. Zubtitle.
So sorry. I don't even see that question, but maybe it went to you. No, I see it. Question, when you're talking about captions, do you mean
The subtitles?
on a video, right? Not in just like stories, not an automatically.
No, so it automatically does it so that's why Zubtitle's awesome. It automatically does it for your videos. For the stories, there are apps that do that, but I just usually type out my own for that. Yeah, it's not verbatim.
Yeah. The headers and banners. Yeah, how do you create your like?
So it's like I use multiple apps. So if you just want to put like a header on top of something, you can use Canva or you can use WordSwag to actually like create the banner. And then I use something like PicStitch to actually bring the two together. So I don't actually have a picture with a thing over the top. It's actually a banner and then the pictures below it. And it's like a collage. So it just looks like it's one thing. So it's usually few apps that I'm using to do that. But Canva or WordSwag. Canva if you like using the computer, WordSwag if you want to be only on your phone.
Cool. Let's wrap it up with this question because you are a listener of my podcast, so you'll also be able to answer. And then, wait, did I see more? Oh, there's Sonia's question. I see now. Okay. So if any other questions come in to the Q&A or the chat, if you've got them, this is the time. I'm going to reword this question for you. So who's the favorite guest that you've ever listened to on my podcast besides your episode? You guys,
Clearly.
My episode with Shante is so good. We talk about the really awkward way that we met and how she thought that I hated her.
She ran away.
I ran away and I reveal why. But anyway, favorite guest episodes you've heard on my show. And I think you like my solo episodes, but I don't do very many of them. And any episodes that you would say are essential listening. I mean, that's kind of the same question for you. I would say I can answer for me.
I would say number one, like you kind of alluded to, I love the solo cast. I want you to do more of them. I think it's a great platform for you.
Coming up next is like 20 of them.
You're just so good. But I would say that the one line from the Brooke Castillo episode, but you get the confidence from doing the work, not delaying the decision, roughly was what she said, was really, really good. But I loved your episode with Tony. I think that the content that was delivered was really good and really actionable, but you get to hear you and like you're dealing with someone that also speaks your language. And like, for me, I'm all about connection. And I'm like, this is Claire and this is like Claire in her element. And also with someone else that does this. And it was just like really fun to listen to. And like Tony like pokes fun at you a little bit, but it was just really, really real. Good episode. So that would be
That's awesome. So Tony Ruley is another ads guy, and he's just one of my business BFFs. And I agree that show, one of my friends even, she's not a business person, but she was like, you just had so much just chemistry basically because we're friends and this happens to me a lot is the show will be so much better because I have a closer relationship with the person and I feel less stressed and we can literally shoot the shit kind of like we've been doing here. And so that show I don't think has nearly as many downloads as some like more like sexier names. I should probably go in and rename that one. But if anyone is interested in it, oh no, that's a different episode with Tony about tripwires. So
Yeah.
Okay,
It
we
was
don't
just
have
so
to.
actionable, that episode of the
Oh,
Tripwire episode. Like I think a lot of the other episodes, like it's cool to hear their stories and people made a lot of money and that they're doing big things. But like this one was like, hear Claire in her element, hear the the interaction, and also like get strategy.
mm-hmm.
It was amazing. Like
Yeah.
this is $1 million episode right here. It's phenomenal.
The Tripwire episode also with Tony, so he's been on the show twice now. That was in like December of last year. So if you all wanna if you love strategy, definitely check out that episode.
It's killer. It was
So
killer.
some of my favorite thank you. Some of my favorite guests have been Brooke Castillo. That episode kind of put me on the map a little bit. I got a bunch of people come out of the woodwork, like dudes who are trying to be affiliates or something, and it's just like, but then also some other relationships that have popped up because of it, and that's been great. But basically, I didn't expect that episode to go as it did. I mean, I knew she would be great, but she also made me sound like I was the best thing since sliced bread. So it had this twofold effect, which was she blew everyone's mind with her own stuff, and then she put me on the map, kind of. I don't know why, but I just loved my conversation with Jerisha Hawk. Like, I think that was just that was somebody I did not know, but we just had this great chemistry.
I did go check her out after that episode.
Mm-hmm.
I was like, oh, she seems interesting.
Yeah. And then some recent episodes. I mean, so many of them have been really good, but the thing is, Brooke and Jerisha's were recorded almost back to back. And I was like, I have the best podcast ever because I just had these vibes. But in terms of essential listening, it depends on, if you like interviews or if you like strategy. Stories are good. Like Abby Parrots has an incredible story about her business. We've got one coming up where we talk about porn with Jana Dawson House, I believe. So like, I mean, there's a lot that's in the pipeline now. That one, yeah, no, wait for it. I'm not going to say anything else. I did not expect to go there, but anyway. So that's a good place for us to wrap. Thank you all so much for being here. This is my first ever like online party, and I didn't drink because I said I was going to have a glass of wine, but I decided to stick with the water for now. Sonia, I'm so glad you thought it was awesome. Pretty much all of you are awesome for being here for 2 hours. And for those of you who have joined Workshop Magic, I'm so excited to see you in the pop-up group, to see what you do. For people who are like on the fence, why? DM me and tell me why, and maybe I can help you. And maybe not, maybe it's not the right time for you. And I truly believe that not the right time is a true thing. But I do just want to say this 30-day pop-up group, it's never going to exist again at this price point. And it might not exist again, period. My plan for this course was to make it 100% self-study. And then I started thinking, well, what if I amplified it, blah, blah, blah. But at any rate, like this group might not come back. And if it does, it will not be for $297.
Claire, drop your link in there. You got people asking.
Oh, thank you, Braden. Awesome. Cool. Alrighty. The sales copy workshop bonus disappears tonight, and I've got one more email going out to remind you. I love the unsubscribes that I've been getting all day. But if you have questions for me, though, you better DM me on Instagram. I'm Claire Pells there. But sooner rather than later, because I'm going to have to eat and then watch Waco and then go to bed. Have you finished it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Ernesto goes last night. He was like, do you want me to tell you that it's going to be hard for you to watch the next couple episodes? And I was like,
I was thinking that actually, Claire. I'm like, I texted people and I was like, you can't watch this.
Okay. So I know exactly what happens then as a result of that. I might not.
I was like,
there are certain triggers that you just like know what your friends have.
Like, you don't need to see it. Like,
oh, but how am I going to do this? How am I not going to finish that show?
Watch something else. Replace it with something else.
You know what I was thinking of watching? High School Musical. I've never seen it.
A young Zac Efron?
Yes. Waco. Yeah, Amanda, Waco is really, really good. Okay, Valerie, thank you. Thank you, everybody. I'm going to go have dinner. This kid needs to eat again. Hope to see you all in Workshop Magic.
Of course, go buy it, guys. Go enroll.
Thank you. See you all later.
Adios, Claire.